Hello, friends. What's up? It's another edition of the NukeStream. Um, Welcome, guys. You guys know where to find me. Linktree.com has all my links. I'll put that in the chat here soon. New article on Patreon.com. If you guys want to check me out, it's about the cookie in the pocket concept I came up with the other day. I also talked about it in my video at length. If you guys want to check out, it's in my second to last video this morning. I talked to Jack Napier about um, how women are basically the marketing funnel for the red pill. The red pill does not need marketing because women do it all for us. So yeah, um, that's what I got for now. And then if you guys would like some coaching, one-on-one coaching, go on Calendly and make an appointment and we can talk. So yeah. So welcome, guys. Thanks for tuning in and watching me if you're here, and drop a super chat if you'd like, and join the channel memberships if you'd like as well. So yeah. So today's topic, guys, get right into it. As you know, like once in a while, I like to play video games, and just like you guys, I like to play video games. I do enjoy playing the big AAA titles because they're very fun and exciting. I like story games, good stories and stuff like that. But as you know, just like every other piece of entertainment, it is becoming, I wouldn't say infected, but turning into much more wokesy kind of storytelling and inclusion and diversity and all that crap. Games have just changed. Women are now becoming, are also part of the developing of games, whether it's writing or creating character models or whatever part of the process. So we're all going to see some kind of centrism being infected into video games, right? There's always like this point where people are just like, enough is enough, or this is crazy. And me being a fan of the Spider-Man games since I was a kid, I used to play. I remember the first Spider-Man game that came out. I mean, I remember the one for Sega. There was a Sega or Super Nintendo, one of those Spider-Man games, which is like a platformer, which is pretty fun. And then we had the one for PlayStation 1 that was like a comic book video game that I think came out even before the movies. And then, you had the Sam Raimi movies, which were pretty cool. That started the whole superhero craze, which now we're seeing the death of superhero movies. So really, it's very interesting life cycle and all that. But ultimately, just like everything else, every genre uh, of movie, they die out. Like Westerns died out, now superheroes or movies, they're trying to force it as long as they can. But right now, there really isn't much to get people to watch these movies anymore. So it's like, so basically, a lot of the fans really just stuck to play the video games. The video games were kind of less woke and kind of more tailored to the audience. Like the Spider-Man Web of Shadows is a such game where it was like very centered around the comics, and the character was very close to the characters in the comics, and it was more of a dark game, something that you really couldn't produce on a screen, like a full-length feature film for the public, right? It was basically a game for the fans based on the comics. So it was a pretty cool game. But now, now that we're in this era of like everything, women are becoming part of the creative process. A lot of the things that men used to enjoy, like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, pretty much every IP or every brand has women in entertainment. Every brand has women at the helm or close to the helm and making decisions. Meanwhile, the men in charge of these industries are also kind of, blue pill, and then try to show off to the world how like progressive they are via character storytelling and all that stuff. And you can see throughout the years, people have had it. Sometimes we vote with their wallet, sometimes we don't. When you have a big character like Spider-Man, it's hard. It's been around since the 60s. It's kind of hard to get people who love the character not to buy stuff about that character. So games like Spider-Man will do well enough to justify people's jobs there, right? And they will see that, hey, people are buying the game, so we'll make another one, even more woke, right? And they will ignore kind of like the public feedback of like, hey, we don't want this kind of mission, or we don't want this kind of story, or we don't want this character. You know, they were never supposed to be that important, but you're making them important. So it's like, what's going on, right? So it's like a lot of churn right now, and it sucks because these characters are beloved, and these stories and these brands are we're part of our childhood. But another thing we have to understand too is that we don't like these stories aren't really for us as much anymore, right? If a piece of entertainment isn't for you, then you shouldn't consume it because it's just going to make you mad and it's going to make you sad, right? There are channels and entities that make money off outrage, and some of them are pretty good. Like Critical Jinker, he's a movie critic, and he's great. The thing is that he makes it funny, right? And then he's also very intellectual, and he doesn't seem to be full of hate and disdain. It's more of like he attacks people where they deserve to be attacked, whether it be an actor or actress, whether it be a studio, whether it be a specific movie, the writers. So there's that. But for the most part, movies really don't want to cater to just a male only audience, right? Women have money too. But anyway, so let's going back to Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 is the next installment of Spider-Man games by Insomniac. Insomniac was a studio that used to make I think Spiral the Dragon and Ratchet and Clank. So it was a studio that's been around for a while, and it's very beloved and very loved series. At the end of the day, like it's very they've been around. It's a legacy game studio, so they know how to make a game, right? Now, aside from that, when I was playing this game, I really kind of enjoyed it, but also I felt like I wasn't as invested as I thought I would be in the game. It was more like I just want to see what happens at the end. I didn't really feel that invested in the characters. All right, but I'm not here for a review. I just want to show you how the parallels between what's going on with the red pill and how the parallels and the lessons, the red pill lessons within this game, right? If you guys play the game, and if you don't, just know from here on out, it's going to be spoilers, guys. So don't, if you haven't played it and want to play it, here's your spoiler alert warning. Moving on. What Spider-Man represents. So Spider-Man is basically, he's just a nerdy guy, bullied. A lot of guys could relate to that growing up. They weren't the most popular. They were smart. And he pretty much grew up poor. So he had poor, his parents died. So he's an orphan, and he had to stay with his aunt and uncle. And then his uncle dies. And then his uncle teaches him, hey, with great power comes great responsibility, right? Which is what patriarchy is, right? Great power, responsibility, right? With more authority comes more responsibility. That's what the patriarchy was, right? So if you had more power in society, it would imply that you had to be more responsible because you could affect the lives of others more and the future of others more, right? Which is basically the opposite of feminism, which is all the authority but none of the responsibility, right? So if a girl messes up or does something, there's always going to be a guy there to absolve her, or the guy should be there, or a societal convention, or an institution, or a fund, or something should be there to absolve her of her bad decisions. Like, for example, now, the student loan forgiveness, women, politicians are using the student loan forgiveness thing to dangle in front of women so they can vote for them, because they know that a lot of women hold the majority. Women hold the majority of the student debt. So it's like, okay, if we wave this in front of them, they'll vote for us, right? And that's feminism in action. Hey, you made a mistake. You don't want to pay for your mistake. We'll pay it for you. You just gotta vote for us, right? And that's absolving women of their bad choices, which is the opposite of patriarchy, right? Patriarchy is responsibility, authority. Feminism is tyranny, which is authority, no responsibility. I get to do whatever I want, hurt whoever I want, do whatever I want. But at the end of the day, I don't want to, um, take responsibility for my actions. I want to just do whatever. So there you go. Spider-Man is a very patriarchal character that speaks to responsibility and being careful with the decisions you make as they will affect others, right? So already it's very a masculine character, but also it's rooted in, um, what do you call it? Morality and understanding. With the way the villains kind of manifest in the Spider-Man world, it's like the opposite. They have a lot of power. They don't care what they do. They were wronged in some way. So, but anyway, um, so yeah, he's a nerdy guy with powers and a shitty life, basically. It's the ultimate longhouse. He does all these things for the city. The city doesn't really New York City doesn't really appreciate him as much, and he's also trying to go to school. But because he has that responsibility to like from what his uncle taught him before he died, like, hey, you gotta be responsible because you're a very powerful person. Um, he decides to do it anyway, just out of like just the masculine, morality, and that's going away right now in society. Guys are waking up. They're like, hey, I am doing all these things, but I'm getting nothing out of it. I'm just going to do the bare minimum because there's no juice isn't worth the squeeze. So basically, he's living in the ultimate. Peter Parker is living the ultimate longhouse, right? And with all these things going on in his life, he was broke, college student. He was being Spider-Man, and his life was being kind of like upended. He couldn't have a normal life. He was probably losing friends and family members throughout his career as Spider-Man, right? And all that. So life was pretty shitty for him, right? Because he had superpowers, but like he was getting beat up all the time. He was dealing with psychopaths. And the only thing that really made being Spider-Man worth it, at least the comic books, is that he had a super hot girlfriend. And his girlfriend was like, kind of like the feminine ideal, like super curvy. She was a model in the comics. She's also very, very hot, very sexual girl, and very flirty. And that was like that's what the ultimate piece that made Peter Parker's life worth it, is that he had a hot feminine girlfriend, right? That was super into him. And they took that away too, guys. In this game, Mary Jane, the character model for Mary Jane, they made her uglier, objectively less attractive, and also the one of the lead writers, if not the lead writer, self-inserted herself into the game. And no offense against her, but she is not that attractive. And they've been doing this for several games, and it's very obvious that she self-inserted into the game. So I wish I could say she self-inserted into the game just physically, but she also just felt like Mary Jane was like a feminist Karen type character throughout the game, right? And somehow she got sucked into missions and situations which were life-threatening, while the two Spider-Men were fighting off, superpowered aliens from outer space. She was in the mix of that, riding a motorcycle, trying to help the Spider-Man. I'm like, that Mary Jane is not a hero. Mary Jane is a person, and it doesn't make sense for her to be in going into a cave full of superpowered symbiotes, and with a stun gun, But anyway, that's just the whoopsie part of it. So basically, the Spider-Man wokeness. I'll be brief because Red Pill doesn't really care about politics, but just so I can get it out the way. Miles and MJ, they solve everything, and they need to save Peter Parker every time. And I see this in movies, like the main character or the strong masculine character is always like getting beat up or destroyed first, and then the side characters, the woke feminine characters come in to save the day, right? So there were several instances where Peter was knocked out, hurt, he was unconscious, and he had to get saved by Miles or MJ. And I'm just like, how many times do they do this in the story? Many times. More, like it kind of became obvious that that Peter was like getting beat up constantly, and if those two characters weren't there, it would be the end of Spider-Man, right? Whereas Spider-Man has always figured out how to defeat enemies and push through. Now he needs Miles and MJ to just be himself, even though he has superpowers and all that. So that, very woke. Also, in this game, every single liberal talking point is kind of presented to you, whether it be a side mission or somehow in the game, right? So you have the global warming, environmentalism stuff. You have racial politics being in the game, being shown in the game. You have LGBTQ plus stuff in the game, and all that. So it's like, the game has a lot of propaganda, and it makes sense because a lot of writers were women and all that stuff. So yeah. So basically, the game has pretty much every single liberal talking point presented in some way or another, and down to the point where you don't even see cops in the game. I guess the game didn't know what to do with cops, but in the first game, you saw a lot of cops everywhere because when you're fighting crime and psychopaths, the cops tend to have to do their job. So, but in this game, I never saw any. Even myself, before seeing a review, I'm like, where is the police in this game? I'm fighting Craven's hunters and all that stuff, and there was like nothing. Where are the cops? Where's the cop blockades? Not a lot. So yeah, I mean, the list goes on. I could spend all day talking about the wokeness of this game, but you guys get the point. Now, so the writer, I forgot her name. She self-inserted herself into the game, and she made herself MJ, right? And it's very interesting kind of concept here as to why women do this stuff. Like why women come into male spaces, and why women like look at they look at a male space and they invite them, and I gotta be like, I gotta be in there, whether it be the military, whether it be a hobby, like for example anime conventions or something like that. Even though the fans of anime are overwhelmingly men, however, it is growing. Women are definitely becoming anime fans too, but for the most part, it's usually men that watch this stuff. Any nerdy convention or any nerdy hobby has more and more women. And then ultimately, even the Red Pill now has a lot of female content creators that they have entered and are just, saying their piece and thinking that they have a seat at the table for intersectional dynamics, which they don't, right? Most guys don't have a seat at the table to discuss this stuff, right? But the concepts here are the same, even for like a game like Spider-Man. Where we see that a lot of the things that changed is because women are into this male hobby of video games and comic book heroes, right? Like before, back in the years past, women weren't into this stuff. They thought they would make fun of nerds. They thought that we were weird for liking nerdy things, and now all of a sudden they're writing the games for the same nerds that they used to make fun of, right? And that's kind of weird, but hey, here we are. So the number one reason girls get into male spaces is because they want attention, right? Attention is the conduit to survival for them. So to them, the more attention they get, the better. And it doesn't seem like there's a bottom to this desire for attention, right? So it's interesting because you have a girl who has, let's say she looks good, nice body, and she'll go on social media, she'll post a thirst trap or whatever, and she'll get a couple likes, couple DMs, whatever. And you're like, okay, cool, that's whatever, silent times. And then she goes to Twitter or something, and then she posts another thirst trap, and she gets more likes and more more attention and more maybe DMs validation. Okay, I'm like, okay, that's two platforms now that you're trying to spread your likeness so you can get attention. Okay. And then she goes on Facebook and does the same thing. And then, so now social media, she has like 5 apps where she's showing herself and getting attention for that reason. And you're just like, okay, you're doing this, but when is it enough? Like you already got plenty of attention from one app. Why do you need so much? And then they go to the gym and they wear like different configurations and stuff of gym spandex or leggings, and it's like very obvious that she's trying to garner male attention, right? Um, the shapewear industry is designed to make women feel better about their bodies, right? So they can get that attention and also have that like kind of plausible deniability, like, hey, I'm gonna wear this stuff that's running up my butt crack, but it's for the gym, and if you look, you're weird, right? So you go to the gym and you see these women like kind of like it's very creative how the shapewear industry and leggings and the gym wear industry kind of like finds up different ways to garner male attention through their clothes. It's very obvious, but you know, some of those days where like we don't really talk about it, but it's there. So they get attention in real life. So now we're up to 4 or 5 apps, including dating apps, where they show themselves and they're trying to get attention. Now they're trying to get attention in real life, and then they go to the club and they wear dresses that are like kind of inappropriate, but maybe appropriate for the times or whatever. Kind of like that thin line. You know, they'll show boob meat, ass meat, you know, as much as they can. So now we're in 2 different environments and 5 apps of girls just trying to get as much attention as possible. And now you enter the last realm for women and that's male hobbies. And one of the male hobbies is video games and like anime and video game conventions and anime conventions. So nerdy stuff, you know. So as time goes on, right, girls never seems to be enough attention. They have to insert themselves in literally every single male space they have at their fingertips, right? And they use this to their advantage, right? They're trying to gain followers for themselves. If they have a product like, you know, selling their body, pictures of their body online, then this is how they get followers. And you see that in the red pill now too. Look at that red pill like the new Spiderman game, right? Like Spiderman, which is a red pill, has always been a masculine thing, a masculine idea. You know, it's a hero that upholds, you know, the value of responsibility. And then women come into this red pill space and they're like, ooh, this is fun. Look at all this attention I'm getting, right? And then they see what we discussed and then they get mad at us and they tell us we're insecure. Right? My DMs are full of women like that, right? And it's like they want to become part of the space and get the attention, but they want us to change the kind of the language and all that stuff. I'm like, no, this isn't for you, right? And think of it like that's how Spider-Man is, like a purely masculine hobby, which is video games and comic book heroes. Now women are writing for them, and women are because I really haven't met anyone or seen anyone that plays Spider-Man like that's their hobby, you know. So now it's been commandeered by women, and things are changing. So, and just like the red pill, or what the people or the women wearing the red pill is a skin suit, right? So, also another reason women self-insert into male hobbies, whether it be literally like the writer for Spider-Man, or you know, just going to convention, joining the military, playing sports, you know, gaining masculine hobbies, all that stuff. It's simply because they're afraid of what men are plotting or communicating, which could threaten their existence. You know, like that's what they see the red pill as. Like guys get together to like kind of slap the sense at the other guys so they can be smarter about women and be onto their ways, right? And that's why we all this complaining about red pill. These women that say the red pill is causing the divorces, when we know damn well that what causes the divorce is women, right? Women suck. You know, it takes 2 to tango in a marriage. Usually, it's not like some person is so bad that the other person is just a complete victim all the time. Very rare is it like that, right? So now we have this kind of dynamic. Now, if we we have this dynamic where everything seems to be being feminized time and time again. The things we enjoy, and especially the things that are very masculine, like discussing women, because we've allowed women into the discussion. And when women are around us, we tend to change our language because we don't want to offend them. And also, this phenomenon happens where when a woman enters a male space, some men start competing for the girl's attention and validation, right? So, like Opium says here, basically what happens is girl enters male space. The guys that are like trying to push whatever project or like in charge and high performing will continue to focus on the task at hand, and the lower performing guys or the guys at the bottom will either start they will start trying to perform so they can get that validation from that female, right? So that sexual competition, right? So it doesn't have to be always hierarchical. Like the CEO of I think Insomniac or the guy in charge of this game, he said like, "Hell, MJ is a hero just like Spider-Man." And we know that's just not true. She's a normal human being who dates Spider-Man. That's it. That's her role in Spider-Man, right? But he's trying to pander to the women and to society to sell his game, right? And that's just a form of like looking for female validation when women enter your group. See this in the military, you see this in male hobbies, you even see this in the red pill, right? Where we invite insane women on to podcasts, and then these insane women somehow have a voice, and intelligent men who write books and all that stuff are arguing with these women or trying to show, hey, your stats are wrong. But in reality, like we never, there's nothing to debate. We don't care about your stats. We don't care anything. This is not for you. You can't just come in here and just kind of like challenge our ideas because your experience is never gonna be like a man's, right? So yeah, that's what happens when women enter male spaces, and then within those male spaces, women start looking for mates. So they will crap on the lower guys and tell them they're insecure. If they retaliate, stand up, or say, hey, this is not fair. Why is she getting this? Why is she getting that? And she will crap on them and do all these things to like ensure that her space, her position in that male space is protected, right? By shaming, guilt, accusations, reputation destruction. I've seen it so many times in the military, right? And then the higher up guys, she'll choose from the higher up guys to date and to have sex with. I've seen it also too. It's like it's the same old thing. It happens literally everywhere. So basically, I've seen it so many times that now I see it in the video game industry, and I see it in the red pill as well. It's basically every single male space, hobby, whatever, the same freaking exact thing happens. Like you see these women that love to get on these podcasts and argue with men, right? They're texting those guys after the show or, in between shows. Hey, you want to hook up or something? Every time, right? Because they enter the red pill or the manosphere or whatever they call it these days. And they're like, okay, who in this space is a complete dork? And then do hit pieces on the dork. They shit on the dork. They try to make an example, and then they move on. Like, okay, who's hot in the space? Who's like actually? Who can I make an appearance on the show and get followers and clout, but also maybe I'll slide in his DM, right? And I'm not going to give you examples because I feel like it's a little too personal and private. But there are examples. There are examples of women that do this, and it's very obvious to us, the guys that aren't crazy. So if you guys see this, you're not crazy. This happens with everything, and video games and the red pill are not exempt from this. It happens, and we let women into these spaces, and we don't gatekeep, and here we are now, all mad and frustrated and kicking the dirt because our beloved Spider-Man 2 game, which we had high hopes for, our beloved red pill, is now insane. It's just crazy now, right? Like turn on any red meat podcast or red pill podcast, and it's a bunch of women saying hypergamy isn't real or something insane like that. And we're just like, wait a minute, hold on. Like 2.5 decades of discussing this shit, right? 2.5 decades of discussing this shit. And thousands of men, maybe even millions of men kind of sharing their observations on message boards across the internet. And a couple guys put it together in books, blogs, and all that. We take contributions from science and PUAs and personal experience. And you're gonna tell me that you, with your OnlyFans account, are going to are gonna invalidate that here on this show when it's obvious you're here to get attention so you can continue to shove objects in your vagina for money. And we're okay with this, and no one's like saying like, "Hey, no, like, no, thank you for the boob meat. It helps my brand, but no, like, we're not gonna take you seriously." And then these women are like making TikToks and reels about how they're gonna destroy the red pill, and we're all insecure. You, the viewer, are insecure, even though you know, they don't know you, they don't know what you've gone through. Really, that's their plan, and it's kind of working sometimes, right? Because they are getting clout and they are getting followers, and it's pretty pathetic, you know. But hey, um, so yeah, Ocean Man, yeah, essentially, yeah, failures of gatekeeping. That's what happened with this game. It was like insane. CGM went on 0-2 on cold approach today. One girl just got over a breakup, so just give her my number. So we'll see. Good on you, man, for getting out there. They're too simpy to gatekeep. Yeah, it's um, who the fuck listens to OnlyFans? But yeah, I know, right? Like, it's crazy because, like, for a lot of us, we look at this stuff and we think that every man thing is like kind of in our own space. Like, hey, we're all having trouble with women. It's like, well, we have our ups and downs with women, but like, I know for a fact that a girl who is who does sells pictures of her body online does not understand my experience at all. Like their experience is different. She literally is rich from guys buying pictures of her of shoving objects in her body. So it's like she doesn't get me. She doesn't understand what it is to be a man at all. And a matter of fact, even less because she literally just you know, like women like this literally live life on easy mode for now. For now. So it's like you don't know, and that's okay if you don't know. I don't need you to understand my male experience, but like, why are you telling me how it works, even though I've like lived through this, you know? So it's like it doesn't make any type of sense at all that this happens. But anyway, it does. So what are the tactics that women use to subvert male spaces in groups, like the red pill, like video games, and all that stuff? Like going back to this video game, I'll give you an example. Because I already talked about the how, but I'm not going to give you the tactics they use. So um, it's usually using the promise and hope of sex. You know, a very deep, in a very deep, almost subconscious kind of exchange, right? So, for example, I from time to time, maybe twice, 3 times a year, I go to an anime party or convention or food convention, whatever, and I just go right, and I realize like, oh, when it's being advertised to me, I say I'm like, oh, there's gonna be a lot of good food and vendors, and I'm gonna buy like paraphernalia, maybe a sweater or a jacket, and then one day when my Shiba is like better trained, if he ever will be, I love it to death, but I don't know. I'll bring my dog too, and I'll probably connect with people. Maybe I'll see cool things like cool costumes. You know, it will be smelly because anime dudes just can't fucking take a shower. But still, I see that I'm like, this reminds me of my own childhood, and I feel kind of this like happiness to see people enjoying their little nerdy hobbies and shit, right? But also the way it's advertised to me is like, oh, I see the good food. Food looks good on Instagram. I definitely want to go check that out. The music, people are lit, but then also it's like they're showing me like these almost completely naked, um, like cosplayers, female cosplayers with their like vagina meat hanging out, and I'm just like it's like they're using their sexuality, and I'm just like, okay, just like a club will use a flyer with a girl with her boobs out, just like a red pill podcast will use women, you know, very hypersexualized women to, you know, I get the marketing, right? But I'm just like, this is how it happens. You know, this is how they get men who are like basement dwellers, and like sadly a lot of the anime community aren't the most social, and all that stuff. So out of their house, there, it's just a promise that you get to see a girl in real life that dresses like your favorite anime crush or something. And I'm like, yeah, that's how it all works, right? So that's what's going on in the red pill. They use subverted male space, they use their sexuality and the promise and the hope of sexually. The lower men, they say, hey, you keep pandering and validating me. I might give you something, just stay tuned, And then the higher status men within that male space may or may not get her sexual attention, right? So she's like leveraging her sexual attention correctly, so she can give it to the upper guys in the space, in the male space, and kind of like get guys on the hook, like put the carrot in front of the guys that are lower in the space, right? See it all the time too. So, OF model experiences the highest of highs in the beginning, and then they come crashing down OG fashion models and the light tree up as their additional income. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like I think that it's not, there's not enough OnlyFans models for it to really affect society that much. They're very rare, but also why they're on shows and stuff because a lot of them are insane, and that's what they need. You need to be bombastic to get likes, views, clicks very fast, and also you need to keep that up if you're that type of podcast. So you need to constantly have crazy people on your show in order to raise the entertainment value. So OnlyFans girls are very in a different dimension of existence, and it's very interesting for me. It's very interesting to see very smart people and writers and people that actually contribute to this stuff argue with someone who just shoves objects in their butt. Like it's very strange kind of. It's a very strange kind of place, that we're in. But anyways, yeah. Yeah, someone who from the inside, there's the curse of 30. What's that? You don't want to be single 30-year-old woman who's okay. Yeah. Man, opium. Tell us more about that, man. That's interesting. But anyway, back to Spider-Man. So Spider-Man is an example of women entering a male space. I've already used the red pill example of women who come into the space thinking they want to talk about red pill and they get mad, and then they they use their sexuality to get into the space to start talking, and then they use it for their own nefarious means, and then they have sex with the alphas in the space. So it's clockwork. It is clockwork, and it happens in every single male space. Why would this one be any different? So, so that's just looking from the outside in. Now let's talk about the story of the game. So again, guys, there's going to be spoilers in this game and in this part. So basically, what happens is, we know as a fact that the main story of Spider-Man will always be there's some kind of longhouse in this game where basically Peter Parker gets the shit deal in his life. He gets the cool powers, he gets the hot girlfriend, right? But even then, he's always losing someone important to him. The canon event, and also he's also like getting beat the hell up by enemies. He's getting his mind and his body tested constantly and all that stuff. So overall, and he's not getting any money for it. So overall, Spider-Man is he's in the longhouse, right? He's serving a city that may or may not appreciate him that much in the moment, and also he has J. Jonah Jameson actively trying to destroy his reputation. So he doesn't get much out of being Spider-Man besides the satisfaction of taking care of others, right? So, and that's like the essence of being a man. Being a man, a lot of times you're in a longhouse, even if you don't want to be. So, one of the things in this game is that MJ, like the self-inserted MJ, is a super Karen, like liberal nag. She's a big nag, and she's like very mean to Peter Parker, right? And like it's crazy because like Peter Parker, he has the weight of having to protect the city against psychopaths and murderous criminals, and aliens and crime. Excuse me. And himself. sometimes because he was a symbiote Spider-Man. So it's like cut the guy some slack, but no, MJ doesn't cut him slack at all. So it's like, okay, he doesn't seem he still loves her, he still worships the ground MJ walks on, but um, MJ is like his girlfriend, right? The love interest seems to like not appreciate him as much, and yeah, and like Ocean Man says, he's a Mary Sue. She's a Mary Sue. Sorry, she becomes this girl that like can take out Craven's kind of like hunters and all that stuff, which is insane because when you go fight these guys, they take like 15 punches and kicks before you take them down. But MJ can take them down with one stun gun to the neck. Like literally a hero with super power, super strength, super agility, spider sense, webbing, all these powers, right? And MJ can just take them out with like a stun gun. And it's like that's insane. So that makes no sense, right? But yeah, it's insane the way she treats Peter during the game. It is like, and then Peter, instead of like he constantly groveling and apologizing to MJ, like, hey, the reason I can do what I do is because I have you, right? And it's just like that very feminist notion that men need women to be great, which we don't, right? But it's that feminist notion that we do, right? So there's that. Also, there is a mission where MJ, she gets taken over by a symbiote and she becomes Scream. And Scream is it's like one of the symbiotes from the comic books that is produced by the main symbiote, which is Venom. And she basically goes on to fight you, right? And you're fighting her. And during the fight, Scream is just look it up on YouTube. Scream is saying some of the most like kind of like crazy feminist, like a feminist rant, basically a long feminist rant, right? Where it felt like the main character or the writer who self-inserted herself as MJ kind of wrote down every single qualm she had about men in her own life within this boss fight. It was like, holy shit, I've never seen a woman speak so mean. Obviously, it was behind the guise that she was like a symbiote, mind controlled alien was kind of like control or like messing with her mind. But some of the stuff was very brutal. Like some of the stuff is extremely mean and brutal. That I was like, Jesus Christ. Like during the fight, you're fighting as Peter Parker, Spider-Man, aka the hero of New York, and meanwhile, the Scream character, the symbiote Mary Jane, is telling you, "Hey, you're worthless. You don't actually help the city. I put all my dreams aside." Literally, I'm telling you, like I'm almost not paraphrasing. This is a very close to what I'm actually saying. Hey, Peter Parker, you're worthless. Hey, you're not worth my time and energy. I have to put all my dreams aside for you. You never put me first. Just like a long rant while you're fighting. And meanwhile, you, Peter Parker, the hero of the story, literally the game is named Spider-Man. You are the hero. You've busted your ass. You've been stabbed, cut, beat up. You saw your friends. You saw your aunt die. You saw your mentor almost destroy the city. You've been fighting for days on end. You're about to lose your best friend. All these things are going on in your life. And, he's groveling to her saying, I'm so sorry. I should have made more space for you in my life. And just like groveling, like on his knees while fighting MJ, Scream or symbiote MJ. And I'm just like, this is like, it was like the most unhinged thing I've seen in a video game. And I was like, what the hell is this? This is insane. So if you guys haven't seen it, like you should take, and that right there, that was like the death to me of Spider-Man, right? Like in the moment I was just trying to beat the game, but then I look back and I'm like, what the fuck was that? That's like, and the thing is that this whole like gender war that they say is going on, you think it's us? You think it's the red pill stoking this shit? Look what you just saw, right? That sequence was written by a woman, right? And that sequence really kind of um like put light on the situation of like what these women really feel about the characters that you love. Now let's tie it into the red pill, right? Um, Look at these women that claim to want to help you, these conservatives, right? That say, "Hey, get married and have children, be a man. It's your path to happiness. Serving a woman and being a servant husband is a path to happiness, right?" But deep down, all these women are the same. They see you, they truly hate you. Look how they treat me online. I don't even say mean things to them, and some of them save pictures of me and use me as an example. Someone tell me I'm ugly. Someone tell me I'm pathetic. Someone tell me I'm never going to be happy. And there's women that tell me like I don't know, I've never been with a woman or something like that. And these women do this all day because they just don't like men. They only like men that are subjugated and like tied down into their longhouse. Any man that's free doing whatever they want and being great by himself is a threat to women, right? So you have Peter. They have to write this scene in a way where it's like MJ is the one putting up with Peter's bullshit, when in reality it's the other way around. Peter's putting up with MJ's bullshit. He's literally a superhero. He literally has responsibilities outside of her, right? And he's literally saying like, "Hey, move in with me so I can take care of you even more," right? And she's like, "No, I'm independent. I don't want to move in with you." And he's trying to convince her throughout the game, "Hey, move in with me into Aunt May's house," right? And she's like, "No, I'm fine. I need to be closer to my job." Blah blah blah, right? Not only that, she writes an article about symbiote Spiderman when he was like crazy in the game, kind of like bashing him when she knew that the symbiote was affecting his mind. So not only is Peter Parker risking his life and getting his life, getting his mind and body controlled by a symbiote, which she later found out was the case, and she still didn't apologize and still blamed Peter for being for this. It was like she it was like no remorse. It's just like, "Hey, you do better, Peter Parker. I'm a woman and I deserve better." And I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is the longhouse. This is why a lot of men go crazy, and this is why the red pill exists, because most men take themselves for granted, right? They think that's normal. They're in a marriage with a woman that doesn't appreciate them, right? Like Peter Parker, and they deal with this stuff, and they still grovel, and they say, "Hey, I've done more chores for my wife. I've done more things, more favors, more stuff to see if she can have sex with me and love me and not leave me." And it doesn't. It works even less, right? When all you have to do is kind of like self-improve, do your own thing, do it, be selfish, all that stuff. And because the world's already taken a lot from you for being a man. The world requires a lot of you. So now you're gonna add another dimension, another person who doesn't appreciate you, and you're gonna try to like get them to appreciate you by doing more things for them. Insane, Anyways, I need to see the game. I only know the movies, man. Maybe I'll post it on Twitter, but holy shit. When I saw that boss fight in the dialogue for the boss fight, I was like, holy crap. Like, I'm so glad this game didn't win any awards at all. None. No awards. It didn't deserve to win any awards just because of that. Just the wokeness and just like how they treated Peter Parker, right? They made him weak. They made him have to be rescued constantly. They made him grovel to MJ. They made him a lunatic as part of the game, and they didn't forgive him for being a lunatic. He constantly tells Miles that he's better than him, and then at the end he gives up. He says, "Hey, I'm going to give up Spider-Man for a while," right? It's like they destroyed masculinity in that game. They just said "fuck you" to the fans. So, anyways. Yeah, I can't believe how they speak to you, Nuke. You probably remind them of every guy who's effed and abandoned them. Yeah, I guess maybe, but it's just Remember, I don't take it personal because it's not about me. They have this thing where a man that's living life on his own terms is a huge threat to women, which is why the only thing they can have is shame and guilt. So they want pets, yeah, basically. Opium says men's value declines slowly, women value drops off all at once. My main model before Allie went from a 9 out of 10 to 3 in only 3 years. Holy crap. Like, what happened? Did she get like fat or like her face or something? That's wow. So Peter was problem solving, MJ was just feeling feelings. They ain't so. Exactly. And even with how much they try to nerf Peter and make him like less masculine, you know, they try and then how masculine they made MJ, you know, they gave her a motorcycle. They put her there was like 5 MJ missions where she was taking out like 200-pound freaking, you know, special ops like Craven hunters. Um, and meanwhile, Peter was just getting beat up and like getting yelled at by MJ and Miles and it just felt like the whole game was just one big longhouse. Like it didn't make me feel like I wanted to be a superhero or anything. No superhero fantasy. It just felt like it sucks to be this guy. Like if I were Peter, I would like save the city and I can get and go somewhere else. I'd be like Miles, you guys fucking got this. You guys don't appreciate shit I do for you. I've almost died 3 times in this game. And and then there is no like, hey, everyone steps aside and let Peter win the last, or be the hero and just be like the badass that he is. It's all like at the end, it's like we need all the help. Peter Parker needs all the help he can get. No one is as invested as he is into fighting his best friend who becomes Venom, but he needs help. And then like again in the end, he's not even the one that gives the final blow. It's MJ. And that's fucking insane, right? And that's just again, that's the whole women inject themselves into male spaces, and then they get into those male spaces, and that like inner hate they have or frustration they have towards men is just manifested, right? I will post it on Twitter, this boss fight, and you guys listen to the dialogue, and you can tell that person who wrote that dialogue is not okay. It's something kind of like yikes. It's like this person, yeah. Living on one's own terms is a threat. Damn, I guess I'm going to cause DEFCON 1 to activate. Yeah, and then not only that, living on your own terms and getting what you want out of women. They hate that too, right? So, you could be a guy that follows a girl, and the girl could be like one of these like white nationalists, racist, whatever you call it, right? And I'm like, okay, cool, it's free country. You could do whatever you want. And that guy, and then I can like mess with their little queen, their little white nationalist queen, right? And I'm like, and then for some reason they pay attention to me and they say, "Ill, you're gross, you're brown." I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. In real life, racism doesn't exist in real life that much, so don't care. And then the guy's like, oh, the guys go after me too, and then I just mess with them. I'm like, hey, I got a Moldovan chick on my couch. What are you gonna do, right? She's not ugly. She's not stupid. She's very hot. Like, what are you gonna do? Are you still gonna live in your internet fantasy world where I don't get women and you do because you simp for a girl online? Sure, dude. If that works for you, but like, just want to remind you that in real life, it's the guys that, regardless of race, go out and get what they want and live life on their own terms. Not simpering or pandering to a girl, but whatever. Yeah, I don't know if it was birth control pills, college, marijuana, but she totally went to, yeah. You're kicking ass. The Ocean Man's a part of you because I know your story, huh? I wonder what the Ocean Man lore is like. I wonder what his life is like. But anyway, let's get to the end of this. So basically, also another thing to notice in this game, right, is that MJ became the man that she wanted, right? So they masculinize her. In the comic books, MJ was hot, sexy, flirty. She would flirt with Peter, let him do his thing, never complain. She was just happy to have a superhero boyfriend, right? But in the story, she like rides a motorcycle. okay, that's a pretty masculine thing. Cool. Then at first I was like, doesn't matter. You know, women ride motorcycles all the time. She teams up with the other Spider-Man in certain death situations with no powers. I'm like, okay, that's pretty Mary Sue of her. You know, these Spider-Men have superpowers, and she has none. And plus, she's a girl, so even less strength. But she's teaming up with them as an equal, and I'm like, no, that's not how this works. She encourages Spider-Man to take a break from being Spider-Man, so they distracted him from his purpose, right? Because Spider-Man's purpose is not to take pictures for J. Jonah Jameson or do anything sciencey. His purpose is to save the city via violence and beating up criminals. Like, that's his purpose, and whether he likes it or not, that's what he does, right? And MJ is like, don't do it anymore. Do something better, which, you know, common thing. So when Peter communicates his frustrations as symbiote Spider-Man, MJ calls him toxic, still blames him even though it was an alien controlling his mind. You know, like, he said some things that made a lot of sense in the game, right? Like, he literally tells MJ, hey, you're not the hero in this story, I am. And everyone's like, I was thinking it, and he just said it, right? And then MJ's like, you're toxic for thinking like that and all that stuff. And he's just like, let me do my job. And it was just like, yeah. It took symbiote Spider-Man, who was becoming evil, to tell the truth and to be sane and be like, hey, I'm the hero. I have superpowers. I'm the one risking my life. I'm not out there just for fun. You know, I am getting my ass kicked. And that's exactly what he says. I'm busting my ass to save everyone. I am the hero. Let me do my work, right? So, yeah. And then MJ at Scream, the female symbiote, turns into a mouthpiece for all of women's frustrations in society. So, yeah, that scene was pretty unhinged, but yeah. So, anyways, guys, basically, those are the parallels between Spider-Man 2, the latest release from the Insomniac Studio, which, you know, if you're a Spider-Man fan, I'm sorry. It is, in the moment, it's fun. You know, the gameplay, the combat can get a little boring, too, sometimes. But, like, overall, it had a lot of potential. I think they did Venom pretty well. I think Craven was pretty cool. Like, if you want to play it, the villains in that game are pretty cool, right? They did all the villains correctly. So there's that. Just like every woke new title, the villains tend to be the ones that people like, you know. So if you wanna watch it because of that, play it because of the villains, definitely recommend. Other than that, don't expect too much and just realize that, hey, sign of the times, man. Like, Guyana Century Social Order, it's affecting every single male space. Video games is just another male space. So, but I just want to show you the lessons and a lot of the parallels I saw with the red pill and in a video game. Yeah, and they say video games can't teach anything. So, anyways, guys, I'm gonna put my link tree in the chat if you guys want to follow me and other stuff. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you guys are already following me. And we'll go from there. Yeah. So thanks for guys watching me. It's a pretty weird topic today. I know. I just wanted to get it off my chest, but hopefully you guys find value and then see the parallels and, you know, stop taking yourself for granted, right? Because we are all Peter Parker in our own stories. You know, we all got handed, a lot of us got handed shitty cards or like just a bad situation in life, and we're making the best of it. And people are going to take you for granted, especially women. Women are designed to take you for granted, and they will, because it's the cool thing to do, to take men for granted, right? So don't take yourself for granted. Be the superhero that's, you know, excels in life, but excels for himself. Because New York City, your girlfriend, your friends are never going to appreciate you. You know, you have to appreciate you, right? So thanks, guys, for watching, and have a good night.